China's economy is about to face its biggest problem in a long time, and their solution to economic problems has made things worse. Real estate companies don't have money to finish building homes, while many families are still paying mortgages. Today, we are going to talk about China being on the brink of its most significant economic crisis in decades. Many companies from the West are leaving China because they can find cheaper prices to make their things, which means focusing more on the real estate sector. Let's start with the rise of China's real estate sector. China's driving force that gives them economic power isn't what you might expect. It's actually the real estate industry. You know, building homes, offices, and big buildings. This industry is like a superhero for China's economy. It's a big deal because it brings in about 20 to 30% of all money China makes. That's even more than places like the United States, the European Union, or South Korea. And it's not just about money. Building all these things is good for people too. Back in the 1990s, folks in Chinese cities lived in really tiny spaces, like small closets made of concrete. But thanks to this building boom, things changed. People now have more space, just like in other developed countries. China used to be known for making stuff, but now it's like a construction champion. It's gone from being the world's factory to building huge buildings, homes, and things for everyone. This change has brought lots of jobs and made the economy grow a lot. But here's the catch. Sometimes when things grow too much, they can cause problems. There's a risk that this building boom could cause trouble for China's economy. Just a little while ago, a big real estate company faced a huge problem, and it's still causing issues today. It's like a problem that happened before in other countries in 2008, but in China, the real estate industry is even more critical. But could China's real estate crisis affect the whole world? Well, if this problem gets worse in China, it could mess up their way of making money, and that could even affect the whole world's economy. So even though the real estate industry has been great for China, there's also a tricky side that everyone needs to be careful about. What if I told you that the real reason behind this whole mess was actually the Chinese government itself? Yep, the Chinese government caused its own crisis. To understand what's happening in China's crisis, we need to answer an important question. Why did the real estate market in China become so big, even bigger than other countries' markets? Back in 2008, China was like the champion of making stuff for the world. But they were making and selling a ton of things, and their factories were working nonstop. But there was a problem on the other side of the world. A big financial crisis happened in the West that year. The countries that used to buy China's stuff had a hard time. They didn't have as much money to spend, so they bought fewer things from China. This hit China's economy hard, and they weren't selling as much as before, and that's something that the Chinese government couldn't let slide. So the Chinese government decided to step in and help their economy. They gave a big push to the real estate industry and started giving out more loans for people to buy houses, lowered interest rates, and supported building and promoting real estate in many ways. Using real estate to boost the economy was something China did for a long time. But they didn't go all out until 2008. Okay, so let's break down some important stuff in more straightforward terms. So China wanted to make smart decisions for its people, which makes sense. Imagine China as a big place with lots of people and not enough homes. Plus, cities were growing and new businesses were popping up. All of this needed tons of new buildings like houses, offices, and more. So they thought boosting the real estate market was a great idea to help the economy and people's lives. But things didn't just stay good. It's like when you start with a good plan, but it leads to unexpected stuff. This boost in real estate went way beyond just being a good idea. What started as a way to make things better turned into a weird situation with not so great interest and reasons. Why? Well, keep watching to find out. Different areas in China handled their own taxes. Some taxes went to the central government for things like military or foreign stuff, but most taxes were taken care of by local groups in each region. Now, this setup made it tough for the big government in Beijing to have control, and that wasn't good for China's leaders. So in 1994, China decided to change things up and make a big rule book for all taxes. The central government collected most of the money and shared it with local groups. But here's where it got tricky. Even though local groups handled stuff like health and education, they still needed money from the government to make it all happen. This meant they couldn't easily make their own plans or do things on their own. But there was an exception. Local government agencies found a clever way to make money without dealing with the central government. They had something valuable: land in their region. They could let real estate companies use that land to build stuff like houses and buildings. And the more those houses sold for, the more money the local government could make by selling the land rights to those real estate people. So it started a cycle. First, local agencies invested a bunch of money in making their area better. They built roads and hospitals. Naturally, people liked these improvements and wanted to live there, which made house prices go way up, including the price of the land. This meant more cash for the local government, and they'd use that money to invest in even more improvements, starting the cycle all over again. These local agencies were focused on raising house prices no matter what. Some even cheated by using government-owned companies to take on debts, buy land, and pocket the money they got from selling it. Shockingly, some reports even say that more than half of all the land sold in Chinese cities was bought up by these government-owned companies. So the big real estate boom in China was kind of rigged from the start. But it gets even more interesting. The worst part isn't just how the local governments played their cards. It's about the real estate companies themselves. Real estate companies in China needed money to build houses. They got this money from two primary sources. First, they sold houses to people even before they were built, and they started building with that money. So people were paying for homes they couldn't live in yet. Second, they borrowed money from banks, but these real estate companies now owe a lot of money, around 80% of what they have. Now, you might be wondering why banks gave so much money to these companies, especially after what happened with the big money crisis in 2008. Well, some of the big banks in China are owned by the government, and they've been giving out loans like crazy since 2008, and the real estate market got mixed up into this mess by buying private banks, so their current economic crisis has become very confusing and complex now. But what triggered the crisis? The Chinese government played a big role in creating this mess. Remember that saying, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions"? Well, it fits here. In 2020, the Chinese government realized the real estate market was in a jam. It owed a lot of money and was way too hot. So to stop a financial disaster, the government told the top real estate folks to do three things. First, they had to lower their huge debts to 70%. Second, they needed extra money to handle possible losses. And third, they had to have enough cash to pay off debts quickly if things got bad. Sounds like a plan, right? Well, not really. The government also turned off the easy money tap from banks to property builders and home buyers. This was supposed to bring down debt and stop too many new homes from popping up. But with new rules and the pandemic slowing things down, people stopped buying homes all of a sudden. And when no one buys homes, real estate companies don't make money. And if they don't make money, they can't pay off their big debts. Uh-oh. To make things worse, real estate companies sold properties before they even built them. So when these companies ran out of money, they couldn't finish building the homes they sold. This left many families without homes, still paying mortgages, and not knowing if they'd ever get the houses they were promised. Total mess. This crisis won't just mess up China's economy. It could destroy their whole financial system. However, the government has been helping real estate companies get credit to avoid going broke and helping families finish homes they were already paying for. So, what's going to happen now? Well, the government did stop the real estate market from totally crashing, but so far in 2023, the real estate market is just hanging around, not getting better or worse, just staying still, and experts are worried. They think this might be the quiet before a big storm. Even though things slow down due to COVID, once the pandemic is over, the real estate crisis could hit hard. One clue is that the number of empty houses in China is going up like crazy. While things seem relatively okay for now, there's a storm coming, and experts believe the worst is yet to come. The housing crisis is a big problem that could seriously hurt the economy, mess up the financial system, and make local governments confused. It's like a storm cloud that's hanging over everything. China has a lot of houses that aren't being sold, and the prices of houses are going high. There's also this bubble that might pop, causing even more trouble. China's government is trying to figure out what to do about this mess they're in. But the whole world is watching because this problem doesn't just affect China. It could mess up the whole world's economy. This mess happened because of a mix of government rules, local things, and how money is used. That has put China in a tough spot. What China does in the remaining months of 2023 will now decide what happens next. But do you think China's current real estate crisis will have any effect on the global economy? Will real estate companies ever get out of debt to finish building homes? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Make sure you watch the next video.